Hello, and I hope you're doing well. Thank you for being here, and welcome to the second video of this quick little Greek mythology mini-series. I hope that you got to start and hopefully finish and enjoy and learn from the first video about Odysseus and what he has to teach us about conquering our pain and learning from it and enduring our suffering. And again, just learning from the entire process. This one's going to be a little bit different, but wait, real quick, I want to tell a quick story. That night that I filmed that video, about 2 hours before, my housemate just goes, "Yo, by the way, I just reread the Odyssey, and it is sick. It's awesome." He's like, "I highlighted so many quotes. I mean, the thing was brilliant." And I mentioned that video about how something just gravitatingly fascinates us about Greek mythology, and it was like, oh my gosh, what a great sign, and what a cool little moment that was. The same night that I knew I was going to film those videos about Greek mythology. But anyway, this video is about Zeus, as you can tell from the title, and I want to get right in because, again, it's going to be shorter, but there are some details that I want to cover, and the details are pretty gruesome and violent and disturbing, if you will, and you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. But this video is about how Zeus became Zeus, the almighty king of the Greek gods, the most powerful Greek god there is. I mean, how did this guy become how he is? Aren't all Greek gods immortal and all of them are different? A lot of them are powerful. It's like, yeah, but Zeus was the alpha man, the alpha dog. And it starts with his ancestors, a woman named Earth and a man named Sky. Earth produced Sky. Sky was her son. And then the two of them become partners, and they have quite a bit of sex. And they produce many monstrous creatures of children. Medusa, who you've definitely heard of, Typhoeus, a powerful monster, Cyclopses, a ton of 100-handers, huge creatures with 100 hands. And then anyway, Earth is like, I'm sick of this. This guy is just coming on to me every single night. He's controlling my reproductivity. I need to put an end to this. And so she orders their youngest child to take a knife, cut off his genitals, and throw him into the sea. I told you it was going to be a pretty disturbing story, and it gets a little bit worse here in a second. But who is this kid? Kronos. Anyway, fast forward, and Kronos becomes partners with a woman named Rhea, and they start having sex, and just like Sky, his father, Kronos, wants to control her reproductivity. And it's kind of weird, I don't really understand this, but by doing so, he wants to eat everything that she creates, i.e. their children. So he just gobbles up all their kids, but they're immortal, they're gods and goddesses, so they just sit there in his stomach. And then Rhea is like, I got to put an end to this. Just like, same story, so just like Earth, and she actually consults with Earth, gets her help, and they devise a plan so that she's got one kid left, one baby living, and basically they get a stone and they wrap it up like a child and they put it where their kid was, that last kid, and then Kronos eats the stone, doesn't think twice about it. He's not the brightest bulb in the shed, and he thinks that he ate the last child, but of course he didn't. And who is this last child? Zeus, as you could guess. And so Zeus goes off to Crete and he grows up, and basically his life goal is to grow up to be big enough and strong enough to defeat or attack and defeat his father, Kronos. He wants to take over. Right now, Kronos is kind of the top dog. And so Zeus trains and he works hard, and I kind of picture him as like Herschel Walker, just doing a bunch of push-ups and sit-ups in his youth to help from the bullies. And how many? Herschel did what, like 2,500 each a day, something ridiculous. Goes on to be maybe the best college football running back of all time. That's kind of what Zeus is doing here, except some other things happen. He runs into Prometheus, a bit of a mischievous character who's also an enduring character. I mean, there's some pros and cons to Prometheus, but Prometheus, he's a smart guy. He tries to trick everybody, but he doesn't trick Zeus. Zeus is clever enough to catch on, and he is able to dodge some of the other obstacles, and then he finally begins the epic 10-year battle of Zeus v. Kronos. And Zeus, 10 years, that's more of a war than a battle. And Zeus, he gets he gets the Cyclopses on his side. He befriends and allies with the 100-handers. That's the other thing. He's very good at making social connections. He's pretty manipulative, a little bit like Odysseus in that aspect. And anyway, long story short, he defeats the old man. He beats Kronos. And then Typhoeus is like, wait, you got to beat me if you really want to be the top dog. And so Zeus battles Typhoeus and beats him, and now all of a sudden Zeus is the most powerful god in the Greek universe. So what really happened here? I mean, now Zeus is Zeus, but how did he get to that point? Obviously, he worked hard. He was great at making social connections. But man, for the love of God, he got lucky. He got lucky that Kronos was dumb enough to eat a stone and not realize that it was him. He got lucky that Rhea, just right in the nick of time, got help from Earth to save his life. And it kind of just proved the point that to be super, there's some other things. Zeus, he was ruthless, which if you kind of want to achieve that type of power, you kind of have to be, at least in certain ways. He was an alpha dog for sure. And yeah, he was a hard worker, but yeah, he was lucky. And I can't help but think of Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers, if you've ever heard of it or read it. And he basically is very compelling, and he talks about Bill Gates and Canadian hockey players and just so many other successful people who are very successful not only because of talent and talent that they gained through working hard, but they also got lucky. And they had timing on their side. And that's really what happened with Zeus. And it's kind of crazy to think that, wow, this story written by Hesiod over 2 millennia ago is basically being retold today, just in human form. It's not Zeus. I mean, it's really fascinating to think about. And anyway, I'm just going to cut it at that. So interpret that how you will, and derive whatever you can from it, and just try to figure out what resonates with you. Again, what speaks with you. I mentioned kind of this in my Why I Don't Have a Bedtime Routine video, but in any video that you watch of mine, of other people, any book or article or tweet that you read or movie that you watch, what resonates with you? What speaks with you? You don't have to agree. You're not going to agree with everything that you say. But yeah, just try to learn or just gain intrinsic value from it that, again, just speaks to you. I know I keep saying that, but I'll wrap this up. And yeah, it is an interesting case of how Zeus became Zeus. I'm sure you didn't know all those details or those stories. I certainly didn't until I took the Greek and Roman mythology course that I mentioned in the last video. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening. I got 1, maybe 2 more of these videos in the mini series. I'll try to do 2, but 1 for sure. The next one that I honestly is probably my favorite story. So stay tuned for that, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you so much. And namaste. I'll give you a salute and a bow.